Hello everyone, welcome to another of Bert's builds. I'm going to go slightly off piste here with my usual videos, but what I'm going to show you here is how you can make a pretty good fantasy model from, well, pretty much from toys and also from model kits that are available. So the idea of these videos is going to be probably 2 or 3 parts, I should imagine. This is part one and the introduction. It's to show you how these component parts can make you a fantasy diorama. Now, if, like me, you're on a bit of a budget, fantasy and sci-fi models can be quite pricey. So what I've learnt to do over the years, and I've done this kind of project quite a few times, is to kind of make my own fantasy models using what's available very cheaply. So to begin with, then I'll give you a rundown of the component parts you see here. Now, these guys, it's not rocket science. These guys are just Tamiya American Infantry series. He's a flamethrower guy. There's a guy there that's he'll end up with a Thompson submachine gun, and this guy just firing a rifle. So they're going to be included in my diorama. The main star of the diorama is a Hulk figure. Now, this Hulk figure is literally an action figure. He's a toy. Okay, not to put too fine a point on it. I bought him from a charity shop. I think I paid about £1 for him. Okay, now I've done some work on him already. I've, as you can see, excuse me, I've actually put some milliput into the joints there of his legs, where his trousers join his hips. His arms are now super glued in place, so they won't actually move anymore. Originally, the figure would, his arms would move up and down. The head is kind of almost a bobble figure, really. His head is designed to sort of move around. It can go from side to side and slightly up and down. But for my purposes, he's gonna that big joint there that you can see is going to have to be filled. It's going to have to be, I'm going to have to milliput that to get that to disappear a little bit and to look a little more real, if you'll forgive the expression. I've given him an undercoat. I've used acrylics for this type of plastic. It does adhere much better to these figures, the type of plastic they're made from. And so now he's kind of fixed. His head will still move, but like I say, I'm going to milliput the joint so that will then become stationary. His arms are super glued in place, and I've put a bit of filler into the joins to hide that. And I've also milliputted around his hip joints, as I've said. So that's him. That's the start I've made on him. This is the stuff that I've used. For those of you that have used it lots, then please forgive me. For those that haven't heard of it, milliput is, I just love the stuff. It comes in different grades. It comes in a very fine grade, a medium grade, and a coarse grade. Basically, it's a two-part thing. This is the hardener. This is the main substance, for want of a better word. You cut them into equal amounts and you mix them up, and you mix and mix and mix and mix. They start off quite hard and then they soften as you gradually use them. And the object is to get the two component parts to form one uniform colour. Once you've done that, you then shape the milliput, put it into joints and etc. like this. It can be shaped and messed with for quite a long time, actually, and even if it starts to harden, you can still find a bit of warmth from your fingers. It will soften up again a little bit, and it can be shaped and it can be sanded, and you can do all kinds of stuff. Well, this is just, to me, this is like a substance of great wonder. So it's very versatile. It can be used for lots of things, and it will actually cure underwater. Just as a little interest there, because this substance has been known to be used by seafarers, people that sail boats, etc., etc., because if they get a leak, you can actually use milliput to seal a leak, and it will cure whilst underwater. So that's milliput, for those of you that haven't heard of it. Now, the next big component part of my diorama is this kit that I bought off of eBay. I deliberately looked for a kit that came from the 50s. I wanted my diorama to be circa 1950s, okay, just because of my love for sort of 1950s sci-fi movies and etc. You can choose 60s, 70s, 80s, you know, noughties, whatever you want to do. Okay, but I chose, for me, I wanted it to be kind of a 50s scene with my Hulk figure. So what I did was I bought this Pershing tank, M26 Pershing tank, made by Dragon Productions. Bought it on eBay. I think I paid about £15 for it. It was partially built, partially painted. It's not completely finished, but I've more or less finished the construction of it, and started the repaint job, started fitting the tracks, which were individual track links, and the idea is that this is going to be like this, and the Hulk are going to be the main features of the diorama. Now, what was good was that the original buyer of the kit had actually bought an update version, and he bought a metal barrel, which was perfect for me because it meant that I could it replaced the polystyrene one that came with it, and that meant I was able to bend the barrel, which suited me perfectly, to show a bit of the damage that the Hulk's done. Now, the other thing, the other damage that my Hulk has supposedly inflicted are these punch marks here that you see. Now, again, I use milliput for these. I don't know how clearly you can see that, but that's milliput. Okay, I'll explain a little bit more in a second. There's the other one. These are literally punch marks. Okay, so what I did before I'd stuck his arms down into the fixed position they're in now, I got a lump of milliput, sort of the size of a marble, literally pushed his fist into the milliput, to these blobs of milliput, to give the fist impression. When they'd gone hard, I then cut holes into the hull and to the turret of the tank to give me holes to then put the milliput impression fist marks behind that, so it literally looked like he punched into the armour. Now, it didn't absolutely pan out exactly the way I wanted it. It's not quite the look I was expecting, but do you know what? I can kind of live with it because I think it looks okay, and I just think it's kind of a slightly amusing, if you like, but it's also interesting, just something a bit different. And it looks like, you know, the idea is that it looks like he's punched into the armour. So once the milliput had cured, which can take up to 24 hours, I then stuck them behind the holes that I'd cut into the hull and into the turret, and then I added a sort of beading, if you like, there, just to, you know, cover up the imperfections in the join between the hole that I'd cut in the armour and the milliput fist mark, but I think it looks okay. You may have better ideas, you may find a better way of achieving this look, but like I say, my videos are more about giving you ideas than showing you modelling skills, because I'm not the best model maker in the world, but I do have some good ideas. Okay, so obviously that's a long way from finished. It's got to be weathered, it's got to be, the construction's got to be finished. There's some more track links to put on there, on that side, and so on and so on. The figures need to be painted. The base that I'm going to use, the tank will end up, it will kind of end up in this kind of position. The tank will be there, and the Hulk figure will be stood in front of it, you know, kind of that fashion. Give you a rough idea of how it's going to look. Ultimately going to have the soldier figures sort of spread around here shooting at him and yada yada, and so that's ultimately how it'll end up looking. And what I've used for this, I've just used a hardwood piece of hardwood here, placemat, frankly. This I've used, it's Dry Oasis. I stuck sort of random sections. This one's sloped, it was deliberately sloped. This will all be sanded and smoothed off to give a rough shape, and then I'll add some filler onto that to harden it up and to give it texture and you know, a better surface, a more authentic surface. And then the tank will literally be, just before the filler goes off, the tank will be kind of impressed into that whole mixture. So that's about it for this stage. The only final thing I say is that some of you that collect these figures might be upset by my use of him. Some of you might say that he's the wrong scale, that perhaps he's too big, because these are 135, the tank and the soldier figures are 135, and he's probably, I don't know, maybe 112 or something like that. As Hulk fans will know, he did always come out bigger once he changed. Some of you might say he's too big. I don't know. I'm happy. I think, you know, for a budget fantasy diorama, I'm going to live with the fact that maybe he's a little too big. I'm not going to lose too much sleep over that. But again, you know, you may have other thoughts. You might think that he's too much, that he's the wrong size, he's a bit oversized. I think he's approximately the right size. That's the way I see it. Anyway, that's it for now. Look out for the next part. As I say, there'll be 2 or 3 parts. The next part will be showing you the progress that I've made with modifying the figure, finishing off the tank, painting the soldiers, and the scenic base. There'll probably be 2 or 3 parts in total, I should imagine. Okay, well, thanks for watching, and I hope this has been of interest or has inspired some of you to give you some ideas of what can be done. Okay, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.